I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes to see if anybody else logs on, and then we can get started. Okay. We are recording this, and I'll send this out to in an email too. So if you guys want to, watch it again because it's just a thrilling presentation, you guys can go ahead and do that. Thank you all for joining this. This is our, we're going to be doing, oh, this is my 6th community impact training. So that's exciting. This year, obviously, a little bit different because of all of the COVID. And so we are going to have the option to do either Zoom or in person, socially distant with masks. And so just to kind of have, just so you guys know that you guys can do either. And so I'm just going to quickly go through a little bit about United Way for those who have never done the community impact before. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the community conditions we've seen in the last year or two. And then I'm going to go through like signing into EC Impact and doing a review and evaluation form, and we'll talk about the meetings a little bit and have some time for questions. So if you guys have a question and you don't feel like speaking up in a big group like this, just use the chat box, and I'll try and get to the best that I can. So so this is just a little snapshot of our staff. It's me and Angie Perez, who's our campaign and marketing director, and Angie will be joining us in some of the agency presentation meetings, so you'll get a chance to meet her if you haven't. And then Michelle, our executive assistant. And so if you have any questions, you can talk to any of us. United Way of North Central Iowa, just as a little bit of a history, we've been around since 1923. We started as the Mason City Community Chest and became the United Way of Mason City in 1973, and expanded services to the county in 1980 and became United Way of North Central Iowa in 1991. And our mission is to connect and strengthen community resources to inspire change in the lives of all North Iowans, connecting people, impacting lives, and strengthening communities. So your mission is to help us distribute funding to nonprofit programs serving all our 8 counties. Or I shouldn't say all of our 8 counties, at least one of our 8 counties. So all the programs don't have to serve all 8 counties. They could serve Worth or they could serve Hancock. They just have to be in our region. And I don't have a number of, I don't have the number that we'll be distributing quite yet. I will by the time that we have our first discussion meetings, but it is going to be less. Our campaign is down about 20% from the year before because of COVID and everything. And so that means that we have less to give out, which means it's, and I have made our applicants kind of aware of that fact, so they do know this is a little bit of a restricted funding year, which isn't great, but it's where we are. Everything that we're doing in the next about month and a half is top secret. So please don't share the information you learn in the applications. Don't share the result of any funding decisions until we're able to share that with the applicants themselves. And group discussions are to stay within the group. So we fund programs, not agencies. So, and we had 29 programs applied with a total request of 513,000, which is actually less than we've had in requests in a few years. So that's, I mean, it's still more than what we're going to have to give, but I think a lot of agencies kind of knew that we didn't have as much to give. And we operate on a zero-based funding model, which means it doesn't matter if they got funded last year. What matters is this year. Every funding decision is good for 1 year. And we start paying out the funding decisions in July and go. So when we award something, they get notified in April, and then they have time to get their paperwork and everything in, and then funding starts July and goes through June of 2022, which I can't believe it's 2021 already. So we as a United Way have goals for our community, and they're broken into 4 kind of sectors underneath the education, financial stability, and health. So under education, we focus on childhood success and youth success. So children enter school ready to succeed. And our funding priority outcomes and required indicators is that, you know, that children enter school ready to succeed. And we track the number of children enrolled in high quality early childhood programs, the number and percent of children served, and how served. Maybe I need to do some education because this is, but how many children achieve developmental milestones, the number and percent of children served by United Way funded programs reading at grade level, and the number and percent of clients that gain positive parenting or co-parenting skills. And our intended results are to increase access to quality, affordable childcare and education for children birth through kindergarten, improve family and caregiver ability to support social and language development in young children, enhance the community's ability to identify children with developmental vulnerabilities and offer early intervention, and ensure early grade success. Under youth success, we hope that youth achieve key milestones, experiencing successful transitions from elementary to middle and high school, on-time graduation and completion of some form of post-secondary education, credentialing, or training. And we measure high school students who develop, oh my gosh, you guys, I need somebody to proofread things for me, who develop soft skills such as, you know, typing. Youth served who avoid or reduce risky behavior, the number and percent of youth who feel cared about in their community, and the number and percent of youth who improve grades, reading skills, and see improved academic outcomes, those who graduate high school on time, and those who develop positive self-concept or confidence. Under financial stability, we hope that individuals and families improve their socioeconomic status. So that means access to affordable housing and financial products, individuals served who gain or maintain employment, individuals who are able to increase their disposable income by accessing benefits or reducing their costs, and clients who have immediate needs met, so basic needs, and clients who gain knowledge about personal finance and money management, and clients who are able to remain in or transition to an improved stable living condition. And then finally, for access to health, we want individuals and families to have access to health care and improve their health. And this could be participating in physical and or healthy food access and nutrition programs, clients who are free from abuse and neglect, clients that are successfully linked with services to increase their knowledge of available services, or increase their knowledge of available services. And individuals gain knowledge about safe and healthy relationships, and clients develop healthy relationships with family members and caregivers, individuals that find safety, and individuals served with access to healthcare and supports. So United Way is a resource and human services organization that is focused on critical needs in education, financial stability, and health for North Iowa families. And the critical need in North Iowa is that 30% of North Iowa families are lacking access to basic resources to achieve a stable and healthy life. This did say our solution, but now it just says our. And I am going to actually blame this on, I created this presentation in Canva and then downloaded it as a PowerPoint, and that's like a beta test thing. And I think it's messing it up, but I could also just be a person that makes mistakes. So we provide foundational support to high performing nonprofit programs that have proven solutions in providing North Iowa families the resources they need to achieve a stable and healthy life. So 30% is quite a large number, actually. It is what we would call our ALICE population, which is asset limited, income constrained, and employed. And it is people that make above the poverty level, but not enough to actually do what is called a survival budget, which is your, rent, child care, transportation, technology as in a cell phone and internet and food. So 30% of our total population is about 40,000 people here in North Iowa.
30% is a huge number.
Yeah, it's a huge number. And the poverty level is not a great measure of what it means to struggle, I guess. It's based off a formula developed in the 60s, which reflected costs of the 60s. At that time, food was a major cost in the 60s, where in the last 20 to 30 years, even in middle class and upper class budgets, that housing, health, and education have really overtaken family budgets as primary drivers of what's eating up your monthly budget. I mean, I have just the one kid in daycare, and that's $600 to $700 a month. And I know that there's a lot of people on this call that are feeling that too. So that's more than my mortgage. I live in a really cheap place, but I know that I'm not alone in that. So we have a total population in our region of 123,000. County poverty rates range from 8% in Hancock County to 15% in Floyd County, and 42% of students in North Iowa qualify for a free and reduced lunch. 14% of children under 18 in Iowa live in poverty. And if you were to do 200% of the poverty level, which gets you close to that ALICE survival budget, it goes up to about 36% of kids living in kind of economically unstable households. And 13% of our region receives SNAP benefits, which is the food program, like the EBT cards. So I'm going to talk a little bit about ALICE. I have already, but who is struggling? Like I said, 12% of our total region falls below that poverty level, with an additional 18% qualifying as ALICE. So that's where we get our 30% of people struggling. And a survival budget, as I kind of mentioned, was the cost of a household basics, such as housing, food, transportation, technology, health, and childcare, increased by 26% for a single adult and 41% for a family of four from 2010 to 2016, which is when we have the most recent study that came out. Alice is likely to be employed, but their income lags behind the cost of living in most areas. In some cases, the problem is low wages, but there is also the challenge of finding full-time continuous work. Um, and you can see this in your own community by the amount of part-time positions that are available versus full-time. And then another struggle that these families run into is when you have part-time work, um, a lot of employers don't let you set your days and hours that you work. So you're constantly having to juggle those two competing schedules. So say you work part-time as a gas station worker and part-time as a retail worker, you can't, a lot of places won't say, hey, can I work Monday, Wednesday, Friday here and Tuesday, Thursday here, or afternoons here or mornings there. Your schedule changes every week, which as you know, if you can remember to when your first jobs in high school and in college, a lot of work was like that. And I can remember having to check the schedule every week for your hours. And so trying to piece together those two things. And what happens in this situation is that, you know, for most of us, what makes our life sustainable is having a little bit of an emergency savings, any kind of liquid savings. And when you're living paycheck to paycheck, you really can't do that. And so when a Alice family faces an emergency, like it could be anything from a flat tire um, to a medical emergency, it throws them into kind of a cycle or a spin out of they can go from just making it to spiraling out of control, really. And, you know, that's where we really want to come in. A lot of these families, especially if they make over the poverty limit or 150% of the poverty limit, they start to not be eligible for government programs. And so we want to make sure that we can provide that stability. And the United Ways of Iowa, which is our United Way Association here in Iowa, partnered with the University of Northern Iowa, actually conducted a survey about the financial impacts of COVID on Iowa households. And nothing really has highlighted the differences between those just making it and those who have more stable like careers and lives than the COVID-19 pandemic. So the survey asked about the financial status before, during, and after the initial COVID disruptions. The survey was taken from September 28th to November 2nd all over Iowa. It had 3,000 respondents and is considered representative of the Iowa population in terms of geography, ethnicity, income levels, ages, and UNI reports a 95% confidence level. If you can remember back to your statistics classes, that's pretty good. So what they found, the three main concerns cited among all respondents was that that they were concerned about a second wave of the virus activity and closures again. They were worried about household members contracting COVID. And then they were worried about mental health, as we all have really been affected by this pandemic and our mental health. But when you talk to low income families that are making below 50,000, ranked the following as their top three concerns: paying for food, paying for utilities, and their housing. And so they weren't able to really worry about, these, I would say, like, these are on your Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your basic, your bottom pyramid of things. And these are higher up. And so just really shows the difference there. Some of the themes that the survey found was that there's been an uneven impact. COVID has unevenly impacted Iowa families. Those with resources to weather the storm have fared much better, while those with lower incomes were more likely to have income loss and increased expenses. Respondents with household incomes below 50,000 were significantly more likely to report a loss of income during COVID than higher income groups. Respondents with income below the federal poverty limit level were most likely to work in hospitality, food service, or retail, and those three services were heavily disrupted by COVID-19. And respondents with income below the ALICE threshold were most likely to work in healthcare or social assistance. The COVID financial impact found that a lot of Iowan households are living in fragile financial situations. The percentage of respondents who indicated they could not cover 1 month of basic expenses before COVID was 18%, which is still not a great percentage. 18% is a lot of people. It increased to 31% at the time of the survey. Most respondents received the federal stimulus, who received the federal stimulus payment, and at the time this was taken, this was before the last $600 payment, used it to cover basic expenses such as food, housing, utilities, but it was not enough to cover a full month of expenses for most households. Nearly half of all the respondents indicate an additional stimulus payment would be extremely helpful. Over 80% indicate it would be at least somewhat helpful, and the majority would use it for food, utilities, rent, and mortgage. They also found there was issues around childcare. 6% indicated they continued to be unable to work at all due to childcare issues, and an additional 10% indicated they are working reduced hours due to childcare issues. That's not so much like it's more with the distance learning, people trying to juggle kids staying at home more and their work hours. They also found that the COVID-19 produced a population that we refer to as the newly needy. Respondents who reported the household's primary source of income was a job over 35 hours a week was 74% per COVID and dropped almost 10 points to 66% at the time of the survey. 1% of respondents reported that the household's primary source of income pre-COVID was unemployment, and that increased to 11% at the time of the survey. Of the 12% of respondents who indicated they received unemployment at some point during COVID, 40% indicated they were still receiving unemployment at the time of the survey. And, I don't need that again. So that's just a little bit of an overview, because I know when you're reviewing these applications, COVID's going to be kind of on your mind and how that impacted people in our community and what United Way programs are doing about that. But we still still don't just focus on basic needs. We focus on education, financial stability, and health. And I wanted to give you a little bit of statistics about those issues, those impact areas in our region. So under education, this is just in general, children from low income households hear 30 million fewer words by age 3 and are 4 times more likely to be absent from school than their middle class peers. And 39% of North Iowa children live below 200% of the poverty limit and are considered low income. And 28% of North Iowa children are not reading at proficiency by 4th grade. And you may be wondering, like, why is it important for kids to be reading at proficiency by 4th grade? From kindergarten to 3rd grade, kids are primarily learning to read. 4th grade on, kids are reading to learn. And so if they don't have reading proficiency by 4th grade, they start to fall behind in all of the subjects. And they are 4 times as likely to drop out of high school. And some of our successes in the last year, 973 North Iowa children participated in a high quality United Way education program, and 454 North Iowa children were matched with a caring adult mentor. And 85% of kids participating in a United Way literacy programs did improve their reading skills, and 92% of kids participating in the United Way youth program developed soft skills. And some relevant statistics in our region, 3 out of our 8 counties rank in the top 50% for child abuse rates in the state. Low income 5-year-olds recognize 9 letters of the alphabet compared to their middle income counterparts who recognize 22 letters of the alphabet. And for every 50 children who don't learn to read in kindergarten, 44 of them will have trouble in 3rd grade. And over 22% of the North Iowa region is age 6 to 25. Of children age 6 to 17, 34.9% live in single parent households here in our 8 counties, which not to say anything against single parent households, it's just hard without a partner to cover all your bases. And so it just makes it harder. I grew up with a single parent and I turned out great, but it is hard. High school graduation is the most powerful indicator of whether a young person coming from generations of poverty will break the cycle. Most employers and college professors say today's high school graduates don't have the skills to succeed in work or college. According to the Iowa Youth Survey, local youth reported their school helps them learn about different careers has decreased 12% since 2002 and 9% and is 9% lower than the state average. Talking about financial stability in our region, over 6,000 individuals do not have a high school diploma or equivalency. 9,000 households in North Iowa could not come up with enough funds to handle a financial crisis. And a high school graduate earns $13,104 a year more than a high school dropout. And 54% of SNAP participants are working families. Just some successes from last year. 767 individuals were assisted by United Way Financial Stability Program in 2019-20. 90% of those participants improved their socioeconomic status. 89% were able to transition to a stable living situation, and 85% were able to gain or maintain employment. and 24 families were able to stay in their homes after emergency repairs were completed. And some relevant statistics is that Head Start clients experience in our region experiencing homelessness range from 0% to 17% across the region. So there's a lot of housing insecurity in our region. Food insecure children range from 19.6% in Floyd County to 13.9% in Mitchell County. And I always, as someone who grew up, I went to school in Clear Lake, and when you're in school, you always hear about Iowa being the breadbasket of the world, and it's just crazy to hear those statistics. 68% of all jobs in Iowa pay less than $20 an hour, with most paying $10 to $15 an hour. Households that fall below the ALICE threshold typically earn 44% of what is needed to reach basic financial stability. And the cost of childcare can be up to 54% of an annual household income for low-income families. And health in our region, like I said, kind of what we talked about with the financial stability, about 14% or 3,860 kids in North Iowa are food insecure. Food insecurity is the lack of access to food to live a healthy life. Adults who experience significant trauma as children, which is classified as 4 or more adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, are 2 times as likely to have diabetes and 3 times as likely to have heart disease, and have 54% increased risk of obesity. So a little bit about the ACEs study. This is a really fascinating study that it started 20 years ago, or 20 plus years ago. And it was a doctor who was, and this was on the East Coast, it was a doctor who was working with very obese patients on helping them lose weight. And what he found was that a significant amount, I want to say 40 to 50% of those patients had experienced sexual abuse as a child, and had subsequently gained the weight as a part of like putting on a body armor.
We're both zooming.
And it launched a
Call back later.
it launched a 20-year-long study that found there's 9 adverse childhood experiences that they track, and it includes things like a parent divorce, sexual abuse, an incarcerated parent, death of a parent, or death or sickness of a parent. I can't remember all 9 off the hand of me, but the more of those adverse childhood experiences, the more likely to a highly statistically significant level they were to have adverse health outcomes. And so that's where you can see like these trauma experiences that kids are having result to some of the chronic health problems that we're seeing in America, such as obesity and heart disease and diabetes. And it's just, it's a lot. I think the initial ACEs study had over 22,000 participants taking it. So it's very reliable, and to see those correlations. And if you have any time, looking into those ACEs is a really fascinating way to spend a Sunday afternoon, I guess. But it's really interesting research. And in Iowa, adults that report experiencing 4 or more ACEs is about 14%. And 1 in 5 Iowan adults live with some form of mental illness. Last year, 20,315 North Iowans participated in the United Way Health Program, and 86% of participants were successfully linked with services they needed. And 99% of participants were free from abuse. 2,000 meals were served or delivered to families in need, and 407 kids were kept safe from abuse and neglect. Cerro Gordo County has a high percentage of adults self-reporting being overweight or obese, 30% and 36%. These rates are higher than the state of Iowa and the U.S. average. More than 80,000 children, 15% of all children in Iowa, live with serious mental health conditions, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, yet 64,000 of them do not receive any mental health services. Nationally, 40% of youth with mental health problems drop out of school. 50% of children in the child welfare system have mental health problems. And 67 to 70% of youth in the juvenile justice system have diagnosable mental health disorder. One of the things I didn't mention is that this ACEs study, in combination with what we've learned about the brain in the past 30 years, is that childhood trauma changes your biology and the structure of your brain synapses. And so I did a trauma-informed training, in 2016, with one of the researchers kind of prominent in this field. And he said that he can take your blood and run a test and show and be able to tell you if you were physically abused as a child, because of the increases in cortisol and other biomarkers of that nature. And so childhood trauma is incredibly important to adult outcomes. And it's just a lot more complex than you would think. But just kind of moving forward, on average, more than 3 women a day are murdered by their husbands or boyfriends in the United States. This is a super bright and fun training in the morning. And nearly 1 in 4 women in the United States reports experiencing violence by a current or former spouse or boyfriend at some point in her life. One of the things that I feel like Crisis Intervention Service does really well here in our community is talking about what healthy relationships look like, because I think when we think about domestic abuse, we think of, the wife with a black eye or that overt kind of signs of domestic abuse. But what abuse is can be a lot more insidious sometimes and harder to recognize, and harder to recognize with the advent of technology as well. And so it's just another fascinating topic to kind of dive into, because what is abuse doesn't always look like abuse. It could be your teen receiving 50 text messages from their boyfriend or girlfriend to just check up on them. That's kind of how it always starts. And so it's a lot more, again, and a lot of these community problems are complex, and they're not standalone. A lot of these things are intermingled with each other. So I wanted to kind of just give you a little bit of a background of what our community is facing, not only just in our typical impact areas, but our but in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. So do you guys feel like when you're looking at these applications, you might have a better picture of what our community is looking for? Just, okay, good. So I am going to log into EC Impact and kind of go through that so you can see what your volunteer site, a lot of you are familiar with it, but I just wanted to go through it really quickly. I'm going to stop share there. And then, okay, do you guys see the screen that says Community Impact Volunteers? I wanted to direct you guys here because I need, and I'll send this link in an email with this recording, but I added a few things to this site that I need you guys to just kind of read through, fill in your name, check that you read them, and then you can sign your name. So it's just our volunteer, we have a diversity statement about our wanting to be inclusive, a picture release in case I take a bunch of pictures of you guys. And then just a statement of confidentiality that kind of like what we talked about. This is kind of just like Fight Club, what stays in CIT. Don't nobody. The first rule is don't talk about CIT. And then you just want to enter your name, check that you have read those, and then you can sign your name and submit it. And that's all you have to do there. But to log in, you want to click here underneath the EC Impact logo, and that'll take you to your website. And I entered PWD123, and then you'll get a prompt to change your password to whatever you want. And then you'll get here, and this is your United Way homepage. So you can also change your password up here if you're somebody who likes to change your password a lot. I'm not, because I don't remember them. And you can, here is a navigation tree. You can change things in here. You can put your address, your phone number, your email. In here, you'll also want to add any conflicts of interest you have. So if you serve on a board of one of our agencies, you'd want to add that. Oh, whoops, I entered it in the wrong place. So, and that would really only, like if you're a current board member or committee member, we would just want to know that. And then you would hit save and return to the previous page. And so you can see right there that I'm a board member of the Cedar Valley Friends of the Family. I'm not. They have never asked me, which I am insulted about. But you can also see any email history. Sometimes I send emails through our EC Impact, just reminders and stuff, and you can see that history there. To get into your evaluations, you would want to hit Community Impact, or you can, when you're at your homepage, you can see it here. And then on your homepage, you'll see all of the agencies that have been assigned to you to review. And I'm just going to quickly go into what it means to review these. So I'm going into test agency, and you'll have this evaluate form right here. You can collapse it or get it out, and you can have it up while you're going through things. So the evaluation form has a couple different sections. It just has agency, program design, program performance and outcome, and financial information. And I'm going to just quickly go through these sections and tell you kind of what to look for. So this first part, the agency provided all the required supporting the box. That's just a yes or no. And reporting documents would be things like the 990, a volunteer board of directors roster, And you can find that here under supporting documents. And they did all of that. So, and then the agency clearly has the capacity to deliver the program. So things to kind of think about under this question is, does the agency have history in the area of the program being delivered, or does the program seem out of left field for the agency to be doing? Like, for example, if an agency specializing in housing proposed a healthy eating program, do they have the resources to do that program? And the answer might be below expectations. The program design, yep. Does somebody have a question?
All right. This part.
No? Okay.
Here it is.
The program design, the first question is, the program description provides a comprehensive and clear and understandable overview of what the program and goals, program goal and activities, and that's going to be in your program narrative. So when you read the program narrative, does it make sense? You would be surprised on how often sometimes that an agency will describe everything that an agency does overall and not exactly what they're doing for that program. That's a common problem. And so one way to test that is if you could sit back and go, I can explain this to my neighbor and they'll get an understanding of what this program is doing. But if you can't do that, it might, their program narrative might be complex, too complex or muddled. And like, so if you were to tell a friend about this program, would you be able to adequately describe what the activities of the program were and why they were important to the success of the clients going through the program? So, you know, a good clear example is like the community kitchen. The goal of that program is to provide nutritional meals to those in need. The activities they do are serving 2 meals a day for free to anyone that comes into their organization. And I can clearly restate that. The target population is clearly defined. So if you were reading this program and you were to refer someone to this program, how would you know if they fit the parameters of this of the program? And does the application make it clear on who would benefit from this program and why? And is their target population realistic? That question is really like, you know, I could say, like, just to refer to the community kitchen again, if they were to say something like, our target population is everyone in North Iowa, that's not necessarily realistic because they can't really serve 123,000 meals a day. Or they might just say something that makes more sense is, you know, we want to serve anyone in need of a meal, which will whittle that down, you know, that population down. The next question is, the program theory is appropriate for the target population and would understandably lead to client success. So what is the logic behind their program? So if their program is to provide meals to people in need, and their program design is just giving out recipes, maybe that's not the best logic, you know. Does the applicant provide enough reasoning behind the program design, and can you reasonably see clients having positive outcomes after completing the program? If so, that meets expectations. If you're left confused by the design and left questioning exactly how the program activities will reach the intended outcome, that would be below expectations. And are the program activities innovative, thoughtful, and clearly lead not only to intended outcome, but have positive unintended outcomes as well? So, you know, with the community kitchen, example, if they came in and then an unexpected, when they can have meals together again, they're just doing takeout right now because of COVID. But when they can have meals together again, one of the positive unintended outcomes of that program is that communal nature of being together and sharing a meal and what that does for people's mental health. Some of the people that came into the community kitchen for meals are isolated seniors, and they get that interaction. That's an unintended positive outcome of their program. So it would exceed expectations. Program performance, how well does the program deliver on results for its clients and community? So program, that's the budget, but program outcomes, oh, you can navigate your applications up here. So program outcomes and evaluations. This program is measuring children entering school and ready to succeed. We're projecting to serve 24, and 20 of those are going to be reaching their goals. So that's a pretty good measure of success. So it has a strong, I would say, exceeds expectations. I'm scoring this all is below expectations because I don't know, it's an agency I made up. But and so does it make sense what they're doing, what they're measuring? One of the things, you know, if the program greatly benefits a program client and the community, this program would exceed expectations. For example, a program that offers help to the client but also works with them to break the cycle of abuse and poverty for their family benefits the entire community. If the program benefits the program client and by extension the community in an adequate manner, this program would meet expectations. For example, a program that shows a client getting one-time direct assistance without showing the impact long-term or community benefits. If the program shows a slight benefit to the program client but is not tied into long-term solutions, this program would be below expectations. For example, a poverty reduction program that offers free blankets to those in need. Free blankets are great, but they don't really do anything to break the cycle of poverty or to really improve that person's financial status or financial security or stability, aside from keeping them a little bit warmer than they were before. And then again, like I said, with the program outcome measurement, if this was to say, I plan on serving 24 people and 5 of them are going to meet the expectations, that's really not a very good outcome. And the second part of this is the data collection methodology. So if I were to say, it really, how they collect data tells you how reliable their outcomes are. So if they say we're having a parenting class and the outcome that we want is that the clients gain positive parenting and co-parenting skills, but the only thing that they measure is attendance in the class, that's not a very good outcome measurement. It just shows butts in seats, really. It doesn't really show if they've done the work and if they've improved their parenting skills. Like a better one would be a pre or post test survey. And the program outcomes align with the United Way community impact strategies, which I shared with you before in my poorly spelled slides. And so, you know, this one, and you can find that information, you know, in here, and outcome questions. This is at what points in time will these measures be collected, and describe the program data collection methods. I had put NA because I was feeling lazy and didn't feel like typing a bunch of stuff in there, but everybody else who actually applied for funding should have things like, we're doing a pre and post survey and it's going to be collected at this date. And so and then the financial information, you can go to there's the program budget, which is the numbers, and then the budget narrative, which just gives them an option to describe more about what those expenses, those numbers mean. And for financial information, the number of clients served merits the amount requested. You can, if this program was asking for $15,000 to serve 5 people in a one-time class, that probably wouldn't merit the request. So you would want to say below expectations. One of the things that we really kind of stress to our applicants is that because we're a campaign-based funding source, it's not a great idea to make United Way the only source of funding for your program. So do they have other financial resources for their program? If they do, then it would be meets expectations. If they've just got a real diversified financial funding sources, it would exceed expectations, or maybe they've in their budget narrative talked about a long-term sustainability plan that would exceed expectations. If they're like, you're my only hope, then that would be below expectations. And again, like what I said, the funding requested is reasonable and justified. I think that's a pretty easy thing to kind of see, is things are costly, but does it make sense for what they're asking to do? And the agency's proposed budget is complete and provide a clear picture of how the organization's funds will be used. Again, in the budget narrative and the budget numbers, that should give you some good ideas. And if you feel confident and comfortable that funding would be used wisely, responsibly, and effectively, you would meets expectations or exceeds expectations if they really blew it out of the water on their financial plan. And so each of these sections total up on their own. If you have any additional comments on the proposal, you can enter them here. I think that you can use this additional comment section as kind of just a note keeping tool of your thoughts and stuff on this application to bring to that first discussion meeting. Just because I know a lot of times I read something and I have a lot of thoughts, and all of those thoughts tend to drift from my mind the further away that I get from reading it. So it's just a good idea to keep notes. And then when you're done, you can either save my work or save my, if you're not ready to submit your evaluation, or save my work and mark as completed if you are ready to do that. And I didn't fill out something, so it'll stop me from doing that. And I just have to fix where I forgot to fill out something, and I hit submit. And you can just submit now, and I'll get a little bit of a note that says you did it. And if you go back, and so to go to your next one, you can go here, or you can go there, or like, you can toggle between your applications up here, or you can go back to my assigned evaluations. Another thing that's really neat is like you can view previously submitted information. So this one doesn't have anything, but and you can visit the agency's website, which you can't reach. So that could just be our internet, which it was. So you can explore more about the agency through their own website, which is pretty neat. So that is the evaluation part. If you can have at least your applications read You don't have to have your evaluation submitted by that first meeting, but I think it's a good idea to at least have them saved and ready, kind of your thoughts, and you can change your scores if you need to by that first discussion meeting. That first discussion meeting is where we'll kind of, as a group, discuss each application, discuss the merits, and come up with any questions. Not every application is going to be super clear, and so there's always questions that people want to know. And one of the things I feel the community impact volunteers are really going to want to know is how COVID impacted their programs last year. I just feel that way because of the letter of intent. Committee wanted to know that, and I told the applicants to be kind of ready for those questions. And so feel free to ask about how they handled their programs last year. And if you want to keep track of questions as you're going through, you can type in a question here and then save your work, and I can make a report of all the questions you guys ask as you have reviewed the applications. The second thing that is going to, the second meeting, which is the presentation meeting, is where agencies will come in, they'll answer questions, they'll talk more about their program, and you'll have, even if we didn't submit the question before the presentation, you still have the opportunity to ask questions as they arise. And when all of the presentations are done, we'll do something that we call tier ranking. So that's here. So I don't know why this has 2 zeros. I can't figure it out. But the last 0 is just a placeholder 0. And we'll go through your programs, and each volunteer will submit their funding priorities. So if I thought test agency new program, aren't I very creative with what I name fake programs, but was the best program I heard that day, I would say number 3, fund this program to the highest level you can. If I felt like it was a good program, but not my number 1, I would hit 2. Number 1 would be, this is a good program if there's funding available left after going through all of the applications, throw some money at this one. And 0 would be do not fund. This program is not a good investment for United Way. And we'll go through all of them and save, when we're done, we'll save our work and submit our ratings. Those ratings, along with any input from the community impact members, will go with your panel chair to the executive committee, where they will look at all of the applications together and the funding recommendations by the panels and make the actual dollar amount allocations. And once those allocations are decided on by the executive committee, they will go to the board to be kind of certified. And once they're certified by the board, the agencies are notified. So that is what we'll be doing for the next about month and a half. Everybody has about 5 applications assigned to them. Now, I used to do about, do you guys see my little Excel spreadsheet? No. Okay, let me stop share and figure this out. Okay. So I used to advise blocking off a half day to a full day of for the presentations, and some of these groups will have that kind of half day to, I think the latest we'll go is probably 1 or 2 in the afternoon. But some of these will not go very long. So, like I said, we fund programs, not agencies, and that means some agencies submit more than one application. And these agencies over the years have indicated that they like to present at the same time if they've submitted more than one application. So when that happens, the presentation time shrinks. It just, and so like Team B has Community Kitchen and Meals on Wheels. They're separate programs and separate agencies, but the same fiscal agent and same director. So they present at the same time. And same with RSVP is the same. So that one on March 9th, I would be surprised if it goes past 10 a.m. And so you've got a few of these that are agencies that are going to present at the same time, even though they're separate applications. So, and I will be getting that kind of presentation schedule out within the week or so, so the times that they would come in on that day. And so you can kind of plan your schedule according to that. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, this went so much longer than usual. I just kind of usually rattle on, but and so I want you guys to just in the next few weeks get into your EC Impact volunteer site and start reading those applications, and let me know if you have questions or run into any issues logging in. And again, go to our Community Impact homepage and just kind of read through those volunteer documents and then acknowledge that you read through them in the next few weeks. So that's all I've got for you guys today. It was great to see all of you, and I really appreciate you guys doing this again for us this year. So, all right, and I'll let you guys go, and maybe take and I always say this, and it's kind of a joke, but if you guys need me to lie to an employer to say that you were with me the whole day on that presentation, so just let me know. All right. Well, you guys.
My boss is pretty strict about that, Jen.
Is it that deer behind you?
Unfortunately, there's like 8 people from Clear Lake Bank and Trust on this, so one of us is gonna be honest, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, I will let you guys go. You guys have a great day, and avoid the blizzard tomorrow.
Thanks, Jen. Good work.
All right.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.